Good afternoon, everyone. We're just allowing our uh, delegates for today to enter the Zoom room. We will give it a 2 minutes exactly before we start, allowing our attendees to enter our Zoom room. So if you need to go and get yourself a nice cup of coffee, go ahead and do so. You still have 2 more minutes before we start. I'm looking, seeing who's joining us today. Lovely to see some regulars and some new ones. And Egypt again is with us today in full force. Okay, it is 4:02. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our 10th webinar. Since we started back in March, can you believe this is our 10th webinar? And can you also believe we are mid-June? As you may or may not know, and I'm saying that for those that are joining us for the first time today, we started this webinar series in HSMAI Middle East and Africa with one simple intention, and that is to ensure that we support our commercial community with either skilling or upskilling, or simply discuss must-know topics that you need to act on immediately. And today's session is a perfect example because it's not about skilling nor upskilling, but it's about knowing about a topic that requires your action today. Before we move on, I would like you to just sit back and reflect on this one thing. Most of our sustainability claims of today, whatever they are, that we as a commercial community is making would not survive a legal audit if your source market includes Europe. If your source market includes Europe, then you are really exposed. And that exposure is what Radica would help us, first of all, understand the what and the why, and how should we act on it. So today's session is not really about the typical sustainability that we always talk about, value conversion, but it's more about compliance, commercial risk, and what you and your team need to do right now. And honestly, I don't know if for those, and I see some names that have been with us in Commercial Strategy Conference, our annual Commercial Strategy Conference in November, you all know Radica. Radica is our partner when it comes to talking about sustainability, specifically when we're talking about sustainability from a commercial perspective, not from an operational perspective, but from commercial. Radhika Arapali is the founder of Sustainability Kiosk, a UAE-based consultancy that has been advising hotels on sustainability and strategy since few years now, since we started working with Radhika back in COVID in 2020. She has been making this case for across the region for a few years now, and she's the person that is carrying the sustainability flag and trying to educate all of us, whether front of house and commercial or back of house with operation and F&B, on what needs to be done. Before I leave the floor to Radhika, some housekeeping notes as usual. I still see people are joining us, so welcome to the new joiners, the late joiners. You are 3 minutes late, 4 minutes late. Just a few housekeeping notes. As always, you are free to ask questions anytime. There will be no Q&A session at the end, so feel free to ask the questions as and when you need to ask them. Now, you have two ways of doing so. You either raise your hand, and then Jean will basically activate your audio visual, up to you if you want to put your camera on or off, but you will be able to ask the question directly to Radhika, or you send me the Q&A, you send me your question in the Q&A chat. I will pick it up and I will ask the question on your behalf to Radhika. And Radhika knows when she sees my hand raised, it basically means she will stop and say, Muna, what's the question that you have for me? Please do ask questions. Honestly speaking, this to me is pure Chinese. So I might ask myself a question or two, because this for me is, I'm sorry, this is not my area of expertise. But I also don't have a hotel that I need to immediately act on. So please do ask questions so you ensure you really know what needs to be done or changed after today's call. With that said, I say, Radhika, welcome, and I leave the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you so much for organizing this and giving me the stage.
I will go now. I will go now to being your voice of God, so you will not see my face till the end. That's a good
fair
thing.
enough. So I'm going to take Gerestine's help to move the slides. Thank you so much, HSMAI, Gerestine, Jean, Mona, for setting this up. So I think I've met many of you. I'm seeing the names here. If you don't know me, I am Radhika Arapalli, founder of Sustainability Kiosk. And today we are talking about something that's live, legally binding, and relevant to every hotel in this room that markets to European guests. So what's happened is EU has introduced new rules on environmental marketing. And today we're going to be talking about what exactly is the new rule and what are the keywords that we can't use anymore. Why does it affect anyone, even though if you're based in Riyadh or Dubai or Cairo, what you can still say and how to get compliant before the deadline. So let's, as Mona promised, we will give you the what, the why, and the how. Next slide, please, Celestine. If you look at your hotel website at the minute, how many of you have the words eco-friendly, green, carbon neutral somewhere on your hotel website right now? I think there are quite a few, right? And from the 27th of September, using these words in marketing to EU consumers without evidence is a legal violation. It's not a guideline, it's not a best practice, it's a straight violation. And the violation carries fines up to 4% of annual turnover in the relevant member EU state. So this session is about what you can no longer say and what do you need to replace it with. And both of it matter because you need to understand what you can't say and what you can say. And next slide, we will hear more about, this is about me, a bit about if you still don't know who I am, and the other things that I also do, along with my lovely team who is also on the call, is the way we work with hotels is through our dashboard, which is the host. And I also serve on DET's Technical Advisory Committee for Event Sustainable Requirements, and also with the World Sustainable Hospitality Alliance as Senior Strategic Representative. And we run a summit called Responsible Hotelier Summit, where we convene the conversations between hotel operators and regulatory frameworks. And I say this not to impress or not to stop here, but to explain to you that, I've sat in these rooms where regulations get made. And in sustainability, when regulations are made and you're not operationalizing them, then the penalties also follow. So it's important that as commercial audience, as sales team, overlooking RFPs, that we understand this and we operationalize it to be on the good side of the law. So the next slide talks to you about what this is. So the full form of what this is ECGT, that's Empowering Consumers for the Green Transition. It can be called ECEG, ECGT, or EMPCO, Empowering Consumers. So what it means is generic terms, which is eco-friendly, green, climate-friendly, can't be used without qualification. There are three things that you need to watch out for. One is the generic terms. Two is the carbon neutral, or we are carbon neutral claims based on offsetting. And we'll talk about these three in the next few slides. But these three are the big ones which is coming into effect. And also any self-made labels, like sometimes our hotels in the best interest make internal labels, and our internal labels are good, but they can't necessarily be used when you're marketing to consumers. The difference is, if some of you are keen, you may have seen something called the Green Claims Directive. Now, Green Claims Directive started off with the same ethos, but then it concluded in June 2025. And that's because it's more a stringent process, and this withdrawal of it has no effect on ECGT. ECGT is here, it's already law, it's already here, and the enforcement starts on the 27th of September this year. That's 100 days, I think, or more than 100 days that we have. So it's important to understand the differences and what is it called. On the next slide, we quickly go through what is the timeline and the scope. So we are here in June. So this started over about 2 years ago, and where we are now is more towards the date when it's going ahead with the implementation. And like I said, for Middle East hotels, be it Riyadh, Dubai, or Cairo, if your website, OTA listing, or a brand campaign, or even a loyalty program reaches EU customers, you are in the scope. And like the fines I've said is 4%. I've included the link to the directive if anyone wants to go read more or educate your senior leadership, educate the legal team, educate further into the marketing team. All of that is from the link here. You can go and find it there. Next slide has some things that's relevant for us here. So we market to B2B and B2C. Now, if you put on the cap of B2B, RFP cycles, corporate procurement teams, everybody who actually sends out your RFP, you need to rewrite how you call some of the sustainability claims, because that's what all your counterparts and the global teams would be doing when you're marketing to European guests. And B2C is the classic booking.com, your OTA platforms, your distribution channel. And I'm sure your distribution channel will also require you updating all of what you can be said, so you don't lose the RFPs, you don't lose. So there are two separate things, B2B, B2C, but you as commercial leaders, I'm sure once you understand, you can do the justification and you can do the fix, which largely fixes all of this. So in the next slide, let's talk about, remember at the start of it, I said there are three things. First is the banned list, which is the green generic claims. Now, these terms are banned from 27th of September unless you can demonstrate what the directive calls recognized excellent environmental performance. Things like environmental friendly, eco-friendly, green, carbon friendly, energy efficient. I know we have all of them, but we need to remove all of these unless you can back or substantiate them with evidence. Okay? Remember, even words like conscious, sustainable, responsible travel in isolation, hotels love these words because we are genuinely have the right intent. But if you can't justify it, then don't put it there. Mona, I can see your hand up.
Yes, question to you. What would be that justification? Is it like a certificate? You're coming to that.
Exactly. I'm coming to it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, not
Question,
to
a
catch you
question will
out.
be answered later. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Hold on, because let's talk about what you can't do, and then I'll talk about what you can do. So the next one is the banned list, number two, which is the carbon. I know carbon can, for some people, almost feels like an entire jargon that we've never understood, but some who are using it, the banned phrases are climate neutral, CO2 neutral certified. And we'll also look at some examples more in the travel industry, not so much in the hotel industry, but in the travel industry, where the use of these words, even the before law came into applicability, some of the brands have actually received fines for calling out some of these names. So what's important is that many hotels, not so much in Middle East, but as you know, outside also, many hotels have carbon offset schemes. So it's good to have these schemes, but you can't call these out, especially in your marketing campaign, unless you can show evidence, because we say at the minute it's a carbon neutral event. But what is a carbon neutral event? So you've got to have the evidence, the underlying justification before you can call anything on carbon out there. So the next slide has about the future commitments. So sometimes we also use words like, we are net zero by 2030. These words are good because countries use them, corporations use them, corporates use them, they are good. But when it comes to hotel level, you need to provide clear evidence that's publicly available and that's verifiable. You need to provide more of an implementation plan. What's not possible is the self-made claims. So I go ahead today and I create a green badge, and then I go and say, my hotel is green because of this green badge, and we've received it. Something like this, which is self-made within your group or self-made based on your instincts, all of that goes away because consumers needs to have absolute trust and absolute visibility in terms of how is sustainability claimed. So if you have a sustainability logo on your website footer or a booking confirmation or your meeting proposal templates, and there is no verifiable third party behind it, it needs to come down. Okay. And we'll talk more about what does the third party verification mean. But that's the whole idea about going through the banned list, number 1, 2, 3, so you get a feel for it. And to explain more, I think in the next few slides, we'll also talk about 3 cases. Now, these are the 3 cases which show how enforcement looks like. And bear in mind, this was before how the enforcement came out. Lufthansa, the case was filed in 2024, but the judgment, I think, came back in 2025 March. So Lufthansa, so the court basically banned Lufthansa from advertising that passengers could offset CO2 emissions by contributing to climate protection projects. Okay, and similarly, KLM, and these examples are all there around us. Go ahead, look online, you'll find it. KLM had a campaign for fly responsibly. On the look of it, fly responsibly seems like a genuine campaign. And these are the steps you can take to fly responsibly. But it was ruled as greenwashing. And why was it ruled as greenwashing? Because the court found 15 of the 19 environmental claims that KLM was making to be misleading and unlawful. So, including the use of the words like sustainable aviation fuel, join us in creating a more sustainable future. Some of these words were found as misleading. And if it's misleading without evidence, then it leads to greenwashing. So the campaign was found to paint a very rosy picture, and that measures can't be achieved. The last one is Catius. I hope I'm saying that right to the Dutch and the Germans here. So again, this was a similar, it's not an airlines, but again, it was banned without proper disclosure. And this is why the trajectory of all of these shows that, be it aviation, consumer goods, and hotels are next. Booking.com changed the sustainability filters about 2 years ago. And I'm sure all of you went through this change because previously you could go and self claim what is sustainable in your hotel. Then Booking.com changed to say you have to have a certification. And similarly for TripAdvisor green badges. So where we are now is that the law is coming And as a hotel, we need to make sure that we review everything that we've put out there or traditionally we've been sending out through our channels and ensure that we sit on the right side. And the next few slides has few more images, few more pictures to just talk about what I mentioned before. So this is from the BBC, and you can see this is at Amsterdam Airport, where Lufthansa had KLM, I think, spoke about fly responsibly. It sounds really good, but it didn't work well. So we spoke about what didn't survive and what could potentially be in the banned list. Let's talk now about what survives. So, what survives recognized certification? What you can say, because this section is where compliance becomes a commercial opportunity and not a risk mitigation exercise again, right? So, what you can say is look at having EU established certification or a third party verified standards. We have classic examples here of some EU eco labeled that if you're European or even here, Green Key. Green Key is established by Foundation for Environmental Education. It's operated by them and it's widely known. A lot of our hospitality hotels here use it. EarthCheck, Travel Life, GSTC, Green Globe. There are about 200 certifications and there are 40 recognized. Look, there is lots, but make sure you work with a third-party verified standard. That's key. And if you hold a recognized certification, you're not just compliant, but you're also working with a similar set of hotels and the language becomes legally binding. So this is your commercial advantage. And the next slide will go into how do we do it. So how do you do? So what we've tried to do, because we were told very specifically, we've got to give checklists to make the transition easy. So it's a very simple exercise. What we've done is we've divided this into part 1, part 2, and part 3. And considering we have 90 days to September 22nd, kind of thought it's easier to give you this checklist. And for those who want a detailed checklist as a PDF, send an email to Jeristine or to info@sustainabilitykiosk.com and we will send you the PDF. So what we expect to do is do an audit. Look, it's very simple because I think most of our hotels have third-party certification. Along with it, what you need to do is an audit. So let's start first with the brand and the website. Homepage, hero copy. Let's start with what does your sustainability or our commitment page says. Because as part of DET, that majority of Dubai hotels are also part of the Sustainable Tourism Pledge, we have at the minute put quite a few information on sustainability on the websites. And then make sure you have this checked. Because are you putting information that's not verified, that's not validated, then you can't. So make sure that you have your property pages, anything that you have talking about the amenity, the F&B page, your spa and wellness. If you have used eco products, how is it eco? How are your products eco products? Meeting rooms, loyalty program. So on page 7, we had listed down few banned words and the climate claim. Have a look at those and see if in the checklist on the brand and website, if any of these are coming. And if you can produce a third-party evidence, then that's brilliant. Attach it so you can say, and we'll go through that in the last slide in terms of the wordings you can use. The next slide talks about your distribution. Now, your own website, as you know, you can control, but what about your distribution? What about what's on booking.com, Expedia, Trip, or the meta search? So ensure that similar to the exercise that you've done on your brand and website, you carry that onto your OTA property. You check that on your MEDS, all of your travel platforms and your channel managers. You know this better. So any self-declared tags that you have, which say things like eco toiletries, energy efficient lighting, make sure this text is validated. Because if you can't back them up, then remove it, would be the words. Then the third part is your RFP and sales. Now, RFP templates, sales templates that you put out there, ensure that, that you do the check. And also, I think 3 points is important for you to remember. Is it defensible? Can you back it up? Can you also have evidence to it? What sort of language? And anything that's vague, that you actually can't declare it, that's self-declared, you could strip it out and actually write with authentically what you're doing. So I think we've given you a bit of a checklist. Now, the last bit of my presentation is what can you say? I want us to spend more time on this and leave more time for Q&A, because I want to speak about what can you say, because we've spoken about what you can't say, but more important is I want you to get this right. And I want you to get this right every time rather than catch out where you got it wrong. So you can call yourself eco-friendly hotel, absolutely. But just make sure you are Green Key certified. So instead of calling eco-friendly hotel, introduce the words, I am Green Globe certified, I am Earth Check certified, I am Green Key certified. Does that make sense? And secondly, you can offer a carbon neutral stay, absolutely. But ensure to have, how much have you reduced your on-site emissions and who is verifying it? So it just, you see the drift where we're going, right? Everything needs a bit of evidence behind it. Everything needs to have, similar to our performance reviews, the way we write, what's the action, what's the result, what's the task. So imagine you have to substantiate everything you put out there with who is the third party certifying it, or what's the direction you're taking. Something like, we care for the planet, replace it, remove it. Give specifics in terms of how are you replacing, caring for the planet. Sustainability, as we always tell the operational team, and I'm telling the commercial team too, it's a journey. And all of us want to do better for the planet. All of us want to do better for the hotel. But talk about your story from the side of the journey for what you're getting there. Okay. So remember, replace, I think the principle I have at the bottom is probably the most important thing. It's replace adjectives with measurements, replace claims with certification, replace promises with implementation plan. So all of your marketing jargon, continue to do the amazing work, but just make sure you have evidence behind it. And we can go through in the next few slides on some more examples. But Mona, I can see your hand up, so tell me.
Yes, there is a question for you. Is regenerative similarly a challenging world?
In the banned list, they haven't put regenerative there yet. So you could include that, but I would say ask yourself, why are you regenerative, and actually have evidence there. Okay, does that answer?
Does that answer you, Katerina? You can answer me in the Q&A. Yes, thanks. Thank you,
Okay, thank
Radhika.
you. Thank you. So how do I do this? Also, governance is a very important factor of sustainability. And what would be your supporting aspect is governance. So what I would recommend all the hotels to do is establish a claim register, establish a live document of every environmental claim that you use, when it appears, what evidence you have, and when does the evidence expire. Because anything that's pre-publication sign off, anything that you have there, if it doesn't have a review date, and when someone takes the test and you have it, you don't have evidence. So start your governance project, establish evidence, refresh every 5 years in terms of your certification, what happens to data. So make sure you back it up so your evidence is fully backed and it's across all your channels and every MICE proposal. Imagine you're sending a MICE proposal or a RFP. You have it there and you actually know without prompting what it is. And I would also say, train your sales and marketing team. On Sustainability Kiosk, we can send across a checklist, or I'm sure working for the brands, your operators must already be giving you a checklist of what is sustainability claims and what are what exactly goes into RFP. We can send across to you that we can send across that information. But what's important is that you have a governance, internal claim governance established with your legal team, with marketing, sales, and the operations team. So everybody is talking the same thing and you're saying the same thing backed with evidence. So in the next slide, I just wanted to give you a 30-day action plan. And I think, look, this presentation will be shared, so you will have it afterwards. So if you want support with any of this, you can, of course, reach out to us. You can come back through Mona or come to Sustainability Kiosk, Sustainability Kiosk. We can support you with this. And I think the next slide, we've also put more thoughts in terms of how could you look at this. So you would do an audit and map. And what you would do is next monitor. Monitor after you've done mapping of all your, do an audit, map everything, where is all the different pages, your brands, your RFPs, then monitor how it's happening now and ensure that you have accurate, consistent, and defensible under scrutiny information. Then look at certification. Geraldine or Jean, could you send the poll question out, please? I'm just curious to know, of the 31 people attending the call, does your hotel hold a recognized third-party certification, sustainability certification? We've given you a multiple choice. Appreciate if you can select the one that's more suitable for you.
Where do I see the poll feedback?
Yeah, good
Jean?
question, Mona.
I will end the poll and show the answer once they all answer. We have 29% response.
Okay.
Response. Okay, we'll wait. The reason for putting this question out there is selection of the right third-party recognized scheme is very important for you as you can establish the claims that we'll be making.
Since no more answers, so let me end it.
I think 58% of you are currently certified. That's good. Then work with your certification body in terms of the language you can use in putting it out there. Because when you do your certification, you also know what you can use, the narrative for what's sustainable. But I was also surprised to see still high number. I was expecting 20% not having, but 42 no is also a big number. So if 42% of you don't have, try to get support, try to get certification, maybe use this downtime, some of the slow time that we have now, to get your hotel certified so you don't miss out and you can, confidently claim any sustainability story that you're putting out there. And also,
Radhika, question to you. I've been out of commercial operation for quite some time. Have there been any changes on Lanian on the property information updates that hotels would have either by now completed or are currently completing it? You know, the sustainability tab in Lanian when you're submitting corporate RFPs or RFPs in general. Do you know of any change that does any of the sales team on attending with us have seen any significant change on the Lanian property information or any RFP tool that you're using for your submissions?
I think we'll have
Any?
to ask the audience for this.
Yeah, I am
If
asking,
anyone's
but I
clear.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have not
What I
received an
know,
answer.
Mona, is because working with my consultancy clients at the minute, I'm getting a lot of messages from sales team because they're receiving
Sure.
surveys.
There's a
And the
whole.
surveys, that's increased because I'm filling out more and more surveys now. And people asking questions like, do you have science-based targets initiative? And only this morning I had to explain to the team, what does science-based targets initiative mean? And it's a good one because this was jargon which just sat with the sustainability, the engineer or with the EHS person, or if the hotel is privileged to have a sustainability manager, it sat with them. But more and more, as the questions are getting very detailed, and I can see Evita also putting that, it's getting very detailed. And with the
Because
detailed
on
wins.
Lanian, sustainability is a whole section that used to be big already. So obviously now it's even bigger with more survey questions. So you can't just tick it without knowing what it means as commercial and salespeople. We have Muhammad saying there is no change in Lanyan. However, it's mandatory to fill lots of information. Yeah, Muhammad, this is how it always used to be, but
I know.
maybe we should observe any change that may
No,
happen.
the change is objectively, they're asking very specific, detailed question.
Yeah.
Because I've just filled one myself this morning, and I can tell you the previous years wasn't as detailed as what we received this year. And it was very detailed in terms of like science-based targets. Is it the chain? Is it the property? Is it, who exactly has followed the science-based targets was the question. So I think, look, I've been talking of sustainability at the Commercial Strategy Conference every year, and some of these terms are becoming more and more common knowledge. So I think it's important that, the jargon shouldn't remain a jargon, and it's important that as commercial leaders, as sales and marketing team, you should also be aware of some of the new narrative that's coming out from sustainability. And which is why team training is such an important aspect. So train your teams, train your marketing and sales teams, so you're compliant and you're credible across all your claims, and it just becomes business as usual then.
I have a question for you, Radhika. Which
Yes.
certification schemes are expected to be the most widely accepted under the new rules for the hospitality sector?
See, at the minute, I think we had the list on the slide there, but there's just a small list. There's a huge list that you can have. Go for something that's third-party verified. So don't go for certifications which isn't third-party verified.
So give one example. So
Green Key is one,
Magic.
GSTC is one, EarthCheck is one. So I think we had an entire list in the presentation.
Yeah, you had the top 5.
Yes, I had the
So
top
Mazen,
5.
we are sharing the presentation and recording with everyone, as you know, and it will be available on the hsmai.org website under the resource hub, where today's presentation plus the recording will be loaded there. So you can download it and share it with all relevant colleagues within your organization. So expected there. And there you will have as well all the links that Radhika was talking about. So you can click on the links and read and educate yourself even more. But Radhika did have 5 top certifications listed.
Yeah.
Plus, I believe you had plus 40 more, 40 plus others.
There are 40, there are many more
Yes,
others. So if
yes.
you have any questions, if you want to, of course, reach out through HSMAI, or I think you all know how to reach out to me, right? You know me
Yes,
by
of
now. So
course.
listen, I'm on LinkedIn, Sustainability Kiosk is the company. Just ask us, because we do audit few hotels too, and we know the challenges sometimes when it comes to preparing for the certification.
Thank you, Radhika.
Yeah. Did we cover everything? Any other questions? Anything else?
I have
Look,
one
it's
more
a
question
very...
I have one more question for you. What evidence
Yes.
can commercial teams provide to remain compliant while still demonstrating sustainability performance to corporate buyers if it is still not completed by September 2026?
Yeah. Good question, Mona. So I think, again, going back to what I've said, it's really tough if you're not compliant, right? So ensure that everything that you say has an evidence. And this is where the governance will be an important aspect of it. Say you're producing a sustainable event. I will be very cautious to say, what is the word sustainable? How does it ensure that my event is sustainable? So much so that I'm actually thinking the name of my company is Sustainability Kiosk. And we are looking at how do we get third party certified, or, look at having one of those ISO or one of the other certification for me to continue to have Sustainability Kiosk in the name. So I think it's a very important directive coming. So customers are not misleaded, and especially for RFPs. I mean, these decisions get made because of the way we we narrate ourselves and the narration that we provide, right? So ensure that everything is evidence-based, fact-checked, and that it's not a promise. It's rather a progression towards what you intend to get towards. Yeah? Does that answer, Mona?
Does that answer you, Mazin?
Oh, someone's asked a question. Yes, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. It's questions.
Okay.
I'm just reading
Yeah.
it from the Q&A.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions from the audience?
There's one that Evita has. Hi, Evita. With all these initiatives being implemented by hotel, what percentage impact are they? Again, it's a very good question. So, what percentage? I know all of us are doing Earth Days. We've all just done, and yesterday was an Environment Day. Every hotel put out an Environment Day and the Oceans Day posters. So, we are doing many initiatives. And the question is, what percentage impact are they expected to have, and how much do they contribute to overall objectives? The way hospitality industry is coming together, and especially with my role at the World Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, which is a convener of all of the global brands working together on net positive hospitality, is that we are working with the operators. Now, the operators in the room have all committed to a net zero 2050. And so we are working, the industry is working with operators and with regulation at the back. Regulation is with tourism boards or with governments, and now it's the EU regulation. So which only helps, because all of this helps because it makes you stay in track and it helps you accelerate towards the final goal of where we want to get to, which is give back more than we take, reduce our emissions, and grow better.
Hi, can you hear me, Radhika?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, great, because they gave me the mic, I asked for it. No, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought maybe there would be some kind of data to show collectively the UAE, let's say all the UAE hotels who are certified green or have the green key or have like, because we all put our stats in a certain software like Gaia and what have you. Every hospitality industry has that. There has to be some kind of stats. What are we contributing? Because I know for a fact, and you know, and I know, no matter what we do, there are still more other things are impacting, but we're not seeing or something tangible or at least numbers. There's no measurements. We're not able to measure how much are we impacting in a positive way, even if it's 2%. Let them share it. Like, is there a way? Is there any data things? Because I feel we do, but we don't see anything happening. Or sometimes we ask ourselves, what are we impacting? Still, they're using plastic. Still, they're using this. Still, they don't segregate the trash. Still, they don't do compost. Still. So, you know, it's a long way. There's a long way, and there's a big education. And we're talking about hotels. We haven't even touched fashion, which is one of the biggest polluted, so it's endless going on. But at least it would be nice for hotels to see how much are we impacting, saving, and doing what we're doing when we all our guest supplies we're changing to sustainable toothpaste and toothbrush and combs and what have you, and steering away from plastic cups, plastic bottles, and going to recyclable, refillable glass bottles. These are the small things that we're highlighting. But what's the impact? Has anyone thought about that?
Correct.
Question:
No,
is
Avita,
there global or regional data available?
Exactly.
we do have something called, look, sustainability is not as blessed as what you have with STR and with the RGI metric. But where do we have is there's a Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmarking, CHSB. So the benchmarking report is out, and I would really encourage hotels to participate in the CHSB, because more and more of this participation only gives us a better benchmark to compare versus other hotels, and also where are we compared to other regions and compared to where we were the previous decade. But what I can tell you is Booking.com does a consistent survey every year. And what the survey says that is, in terms of sustainability, 85% of global travelers confirm now that sustainable travel is important to them. And and this shows to me, that number has only gone up every year from the survey from booking.com. And so much so, the booking.com survey also did more in terms of, there's a big gap between the say versus do, right? People say they want to travel sustainability, but when you price something based on it, would they travel? And the survey also looked at that. And the survey, which they finished, I think, in 2026, said 73% of travelers want their spending to go back to the local community. And 77 actually seek authentic experiences which are with sustainable travel bodies. So I think the majority of this number, which was 60 a couple of years ago, is now looking at 80s. So there is customer demand. There is that aspect of one side of it. In terms of hotels and performing, Evita, I think, let me look up and come back to you on it. But definitely, you must be hearing from your corporate what the brands are doing. And across the brands, I think I'll come back to you. And maybe if I have anything, I'll give it to HSMAI.
Thank you, Radhika. And we will simply add it to the content of today's session.
Yeah. No, I'll send the booking.com survey too, because it's very important to see 85% of global travelers confirm that sustainable travel is important to them now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Evita. I'm looking. I have a question for you. We are certified by Green Key and Blue Flag by FEE. So we need to update the website content, keywords, RFP. I think she is sharing a comment more than asking a question. Thank you for your contribution, Farah. We need to update the website content, keywords, RFPs, and sustainability fact sheet to mention the certificate names instead of using only generic terms such as eco-friendly and sustainability. Well, that's also a question. So she's saying, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, that's 100% correct, Farah. Thank you.
Correct.
I have one more question for you. Okay, that's an FYI. So you may read it in the comments. So Ashish is sharing with everyone.
Talking about what I just mentioned, CHSB. Yes. And because you're also passionately taking on this subject, I'll also include the link for CHSB registration. It's Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmarking. So it would be wonderful if we could get all of our hotels actually registered on it.
Do you know, I'm sure quite a few of the regional hotels are already on it.
It is, but there's a fee to register, Mona, which is why it's it goes back and forth between who pays for it. Is it the hotel? Is it the operator? Is it my owner? Reality. I'm giving you the hard reality now.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yes, Ashish, that's good. That's a good job, a couple of acronyms there too. I know your revenue people anyway has so many acronyms. I would throw in even the acronyms that Ashish has put out here, which is GRI, TCFD, SASB. So, and I mentioned one more this morning called the Science-Based Targets Initiative. Look, and these are some things you can't say, I don't know them. You've got to know them because more and more legislation is expecting that sustainability is everyone's job. And so if you're a director of marketing, if you're a director of sales, it's important that you understand some of these jargon, please. I know. It's easy. It's possible.
Agree.